Welcome to the Dork Forest. Jackie and her pals will never bore us. Shameless confessions
about our obsession
will make us laugh and smile. So let's explore the Dork Forest and dork out for a while.
Hey, it's Jackie Cation. Welcome to the Dork Forest. You know the websites, JackieCation.com, DorkForest.com, TheDorkForest.com, if you love a determiner. It is, I believe, September 9th, 2014, and I am part of the All Things Comedy podcast website umbrella thing, and that is on allthingscomedy.com, and there's easily 20 great podcasts that you should take a look at, including Al Madrigal and Bill Burr and Baron Vaughn and Aaron Foley and a bunch of people that have been on the show. A bunch of people who have not been on the show. They could be on the show. I'm not above it. And on All Things Comedy as well, if you go to allthingscomedy.com, probably not. If you go to allthingsrecords.com/JackieCation, you can get my new DVD special. This will make an excellent Horcrux as a $5 download. That's right. You can also buy hard copies on my website, the merch page. The credits. Mike Rickberg composed and sang the introduction song with his girlfriend, Sarah Cohen. Mike will sing the Mexican hat dance at the end of the show. Patrick Brady will fix this audio, and he also does the teaser videos on YouTube, where you go to youtube.com/thedorkforest. Also on Facebook, there is a page that he has nothing to do with, but it is a Ranger of the Dork Forest sort of forum-y kind of thing where it's just a group and you can meet each other and say hi and show each other dorky things on Facebook. Vilmos fixes my website, JackieCation.com, and you should find him. There's a link to it if you want him to do your website. The Amazon banner on JackieCation.com, you people are using it, and I like it. I got like $160 last month. Yeah, not gonna lie to you. That was exciting for me. Anyway, there's also a donation button at dorkforest.com or JackieCation.com. You can donate directly to the show. The show is free. You can donate $100 a year would be great if you enjoy the show. You can send $10 a month, or you can do it all at once. I have not made the monthly thing easy for you. But you can also support the show by buying merch. If you want a Dork Forest t-shirt or one of my old CDs or my new CD, This Will Make an Excellent Horcrux, or DVD, that is on JackieCation.com, the merch page. Coming up, the ad for my sister, which is ongoing. My sister, Darla Cashian, as she likes to pronounce her name, or Cashian, or Kashian. I forget how she pronounces it. Anyway, it's essentially a serious version of myself. She works at RBC Dane Rauscher. She's a financial advisor, and she is much more fun than this ad. But she is very much a helper Magoo, and then we'll get into the show. Thanks for listening. At RBC Wealth Management, social responsibility starts at the top. As a part of the Royal Bank of Canada, RBC has been recognized among the world's financial, social, and environmental corporate leaders. Our sense of responsibility extends to our reputation for putting clients' interests first. My personal commitment is to help you achieve your financial goals by also considering sustainable and responsible investing strategies. To learn more, visit www.darlacashian.com. RBC Wealth Management, a division of RBC Capital Markets, LLC. Member NYSE, FINRA, SIPC. Hey, it's Jackie Cation. I am in my living room with the lovely and talented Nic Dressel. Welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. It's Nic, N-I-C, Dressel, D-R-E-S-S, just like it sounds, Dressel.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no K on that. My mom was very clear.
There was no K on the Nick?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good for her for owning it and saying, this is happening.
Well, my father was German, and he wanted to name me Wolfgang. And my mother said, absolutely not. I'm not going for that. So she named me Nick, and all my German relatives are like, are you going to call him Klaus?
No.
No, we're not.
We're going to call him Nick, it turns out. My nephew, who designed the Ranger of the Dork Forest t-shirt, the black one,
cool.
His name is Salmon Patrick Wolfgang Beemel Benrud. Lot of names. His mother, lovely woman in many ways, and in other ways, out of her goddamn mind. And so Salmon is now an artist, as you can imagine, because a man named Salmon
You have few choices when Salmon's your name.
That's it. It turns out banking, not going to be something, they're like, I'm sorry, what just happened? And he could have gone with Wolfgang or Patrick or Beemel Benrud is his hyphenated last name from his mother's side. Whatever. It's a long, fascinating story. Neither of those, actually. But Nic Dressel, you're on the Twitter. You have your own podcast podcast called Nobody's Podcast, where you interview comics and actors and anybody that'll be interviewed.
Absolutely. People I meet, we're all not famous yet. We're all trying.
You're loosely working your way towards a giant bag of money and some recognition.
I've been told that happens sometimes, and
it can happen.
Yeah.
It can happen. I don't know. I mean, I've lived in Los Angeles a long time now, 15 years, I'd say 16 years, and a lot of people are like, and when I say a lot of people, I mean my dad. You'd think you'd be further along. Yes, we. And now, in other news, zip it, Elliot. Anyway, let me tell you this. I asked you what your dorkdom was. You sent me a nice list. This is a nice litany of books and movies. But this jumped out at me. You knit Harry Potter scarves.
I do. My mother taught me how, and in those cold Michigan winters, nothing's more stylish and keeping one warm than longer than a human length Harry Potter scarf. Like, really, took me over a year to do them.
Okay, so how many have you done? More than one?
I'm on my third right now. I've done the Gryffindor, I've done the Slytherin, getting the classics out of the way. Now I'm doing the Ravenclaw, and that one's just for me.
That's for you?
Yeah.
Because you feel Ravenclaw, do you?
I do. I feel intelligent, and I feel like it's an underrepresented house.
Right, because think how witty. Think Hermione really should have gone.
You know what? It's weird. Hermione could have gone either way. Maybe she was like Harry in that way. Maybe
maybe she picked Gryffindor.
Yeah. But the idea of having to answer a trivia question every time you come home for the night just to be able to get in the house.
Yeah.
I love the thought of that. That's insanely cool to me.
Then you are definitely, that's Ravenclaw all over the place. I'm just like, yeah, did I have to lose my temper at somebody? Yeah, Gryffindor, let's do this. And, no, not that the Gryffindors, they're always so noble. But not as noble as Hufflepuff.
Right, because they don't even need the recognition.
No, what they do is they're quietly changing the world for better. That's what the Hufflepuff are all about.
Do you think the Hufflepuff is a dominant allele? Like genetically, it's very dominant, and then
what is the word allele?
That's like a word? DNA term. That's like what you get passed down from your parents.
Oh, I like it. How do you spell it?
Oh my gosh, Allelle. Okay, I feel like I just trailed off and started saying letters at a certain point there.
But I say commit, and but it's a genetic term about recessive and dominant genes. I have something left from ninth grade.
If no
science.
one corners me, I sound like I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
But if you make me explain the words that I think I know what they mean, it all goes away.
Right. Well, I have been there, my friend. I have been there. And so now, what do you know about? Do you know just the one kind of way to knit?
Yeah, I've never learned how to crochet is the opposite, and I can only really knit long rectangles. I don't
there
know.
You go. Yeah,
I don't really know how to knit anything but that.
Diva Zappa, previous episode entirely about knitting. She said it's all about knitting rectangle. And I was like, is it? And she's like, yeah. Think about it. There's a sweater is a rectangle that has been made into a tube, and then each arm is a rectangle that has been made into a tube. And I was like, true. And she said, and a hat, you just kind of bunch it up together. And I was like, well, how do you feel about that? And she was like, that's part of the art, man. If it isn't perfect, it isn't perfect. That's the way it goes. Do you do that thing where you undo it to make sure it's nice?
I wish I could. I mean, like, if
Diva
I
Zappa does not recommend it.
If I go backward, it's a bad thing. I think it's a real easy
then you never keep going forward. You'll just stop to some extent.
You might just screw it up beyond the point where I don't even know what I would do to continue it at this point anymore. So right. I have backwards knitted before, but it's very arduous and one of the most stressful things you can do when it's supposed to be relaxing, like in the chair activity.
It's an in-chair activity. Does it feel relaxing? Is it something you just do and you're like, I'm watching TV?
Yeah.
I'm knitting.
Absolutely.
Right.
Put on some tube there and just my girlfriend's on her iPad and I'm knitting like an old lady.
Right, and then you guys just go down that you go down that rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that. Does your girlfriend knit?
No, but her mom is an insane knitter. Knits everything and sells it on Etsy.
Okay, so she's got an Etsy?
Yes.
Do you happen to know what her Etsy is? Let's tell the Rangers of the Dork Forest. There's a couple people who got their Etsys.
I believe it's Crazy Cat Lady.
Is it really?
I think so.
Not even kidding.
Not even kidding.
She just, first of all, how did she get that? Because I would think everyone would want that. Crazy Cat Lady. So it'd be Etsy.com probably / Crazy Cat Lady.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, let's give that a shot. And then you email me and tell me if we're wrong and I will post it in the Ranger page on the Facebook or whatever.
Absolutely. I'll give her some more business there. She sells that in 1970s vintage everything. She goes to estate sales and stuff. She's
Is
all
she
about
still
it.
in Michigan? Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
she's still in Michigan. Yeah.
Okay, so your girlfriend is also from Michigan?
Yes.
Okay, you're Michigan people. Is what I'm
We're
hearing.
Michigan people, Midwest to our core.
Core.
Yeah.
It's now, what are we talking? Grand Rapids? We talking Detroit?
Very near Grand Rapids. I grew
Okay.
up in Muskegon.
Muskegon, which I've heard of, but I've been to Traverse City. Mm-hmm. I've been to the UP. Bunch of Indian casinos there.
Yep.
Wanting this to talk out of her joke hole. So I've been that. And the Mackinac Bridge, terrifying. Mm-hmm.
So you've done Dr. Grins in Grand Rapids. That's why you know.
Just one.
Okay.
Just one time.
All right.
And I was all right. That was all right. That'll be fine. And maybe in my 60s. My 50s and 60s. I'm actually hoping that my 50s are going to be just the blowout decade for me, where I'm just going to hit it. That's going to be the decade of Jackie-cation.
I don't see it going any other way at this point.
Why not? Why not? There sadly might be a Joan Rivers size gap in the world. She is 81 years old.
And still, was going strong till this thing. This is the first trouble I've heard in a while.
Oh, ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was plastic surgery related. There was some implication that it might have been. But, you go under the knife enough, you're just gonna, and at 81, but did you see that's her documentary?
Yeah, piece of work.
Yeah. She is a piece of work. There is a serious amount of work going on. I don't work that hard. Nobody works that hard.
At what age does she think it's okay to look old?
To look old?
Yeah.
Right. I don't think she ever does. I think she wants to be the best looking corpse in the world. And I think she'll bring it. It'll be, but she's, I admire her a great deal. Her stand up hit and miss for me. But you know what? My own stand up hit and miss for me. So I don't think that that's a criticism.
I think my stand-up is a miss a lot of the time for me. I really should write for me.
Now, do you have a NicDressel.com for stand-up?
I did for a while, and I'm
lapsed.
living, and money needs to go toward bills more before it goes to my website again. So,
fair enough.
Yeah.
So, and you have a Twitter feed, so if people need to find out where you're doing stand-up, you live in L.A.
Yeah, I live in LA.
And you do a lot of stand-up here, mostly. Do you do the road much, or?
Well, no, I did the road when I was in the Midwest.
Sure.
I was featuring.
Okay.
I'd won a contest in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and they started hiring me to middle.
Okay.
And moved up to LA.
That creates the road.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as you leave the town you're from, you're like, no, I'm doing the road. It's happening.
Yeah.
And it is.
and now I'm starting all over again out here. I've been here a year, and I can't move beyond open mic. And the open mics here that I found are quite hateful in some places.
They are grumpy magoos. You
They
gotta
really
really
are.
hang out, man. You gotta, the reinventing yourself when you move to a new town, you're just like, no, seriously, I promise you I'm funny.
Yeah.
And they're like, I believe you, and yet I have 13 people that I actually already know that I haven't booked yet.
Mm-hmm.
And they aren't anybody either. And so, how long have you been doing Nobodies?
I've been doing Nobodies for about 3 years, and it started while I was in college at Michigan State University. And then it was about trying to make it, but in a very theoretical sense, because none of us were
Right, because you were
anywhere
in
but
college.
Michigan. Yeah,
Right, and you were studying what, if I might be so
theater.
bold? Oh, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm going whole hog with it. It's I'm out here to perform. And,
I like that
yeah.
commitment. You're like, I would like to be an actor. And nobody says that out loud, so I appreciate your good works.
Well, my dad died when I was a young age, so I didn't really have anyone to hide it from. My
Right.
my mom was cool with it, and I could just be me.
Right, you know what I like about my dad? My dad's like, you might as well live your dreams because I'm going to make fun of you either way. And you're like, oh, fair enough. All right, there's a bumper sticker. Thanks for playing.
Yeah, people get laid off from boring jobs. So
Right,
why
jobs
not?
that they don't enjoy.
Yeah.
So might as well. Exactly. I was just talking to Eric Allen. I don't know if you know him, Minneapolis comic.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, balding. Did a great bit about being bald and about how obviously his genes were the worst.
His
anyway,
alleles.
his alleles had some terribles. He was like, I come from obviously my mother, who was a very beautiful young woman, and my father, who was clearly a troll, and she had no taste and my grandmother slept with also an unattractive man. So I don't understand why
They must have something going for them that they can, overcome their unattractiveness
Right.
and get.
And get
women
some ladies.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so now let's talk about what made you start the Harry Potter scarves.
I wanted one, and I wanted one early enough where there wasn't a bunch of them for sale.
Right.
And the ones that were, they were like clearly like they had the big logo on them, and
And it was prohibitively expensive.
Yeah.
And all of those. Someone gave me one for Christmas. I also have a Monster Book of Monsters top shelf.
with that you'd have to pet and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh
Remember
my
the
God.
Monster Book of
They're
Monsters?
so cool.
Yeah. I'll get it. Tell me, when did you read the Harry Potters as they came out, or were they all done by the time you were in?
It was pre-released for the fourth one, and I think a lot of people my age might have started getting into it around that time, because when the first one came out, they're just like, oh, great, another kids series, and it kind of took about to the third book for enough hype to build for people that were in high school at the time to go, there might be something worth looking into here. Oh my gosh, this book is awesome.
Right, I got that. I got that from friend of the show, Lee Bennett, as a gift for Christmas one year. And it's the Monster Book of Monsters.
It's so fantastic.
I know it. So the fourth one was coming out when you started reading them, kind of. And so did you just
Well, I bought the first one.
them?
I'm just like, I'll give it a shot. You see
Yeah.
what the kids are doing nowadays.
Right.
The way you feel like you're so separated from kids when you're in high school.
Right.
Even though you're not.
No.
And
I remember my nephew, he was in high school, and the fifth one came out, and he was just like, yes, kid stuff. Anyway, I'll finish it first. It'll be easier for me. To his little sister, he's like, just give it. and his mom was like, I will buy two. And he's like, no, I don't need one. I'm just saying that I could finish it before I could stay up later. It doesn't matter. Just, give me one. And so.
Yeah, I was that way. I devoured it, and then I went back immediately and bought the next two, and then didn't come out of my room for taking apples into my room just to sort of cover it. And I'd take a break and I'd try to stop, and then all you do is think about I wonder
what's going to happen
what they're
next.
doing now.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Not even what's going to happen next.
Oh,
just
what are the characters
that world
doing?
is going on, and I'm not there to see it. Well, I wonder what they're up to.
I wonder what they're up to. I bet you they're having dinner.
Yeah.
And it's probably in a different time zone. I'll tell you something. The kid I used to babysit for, lived here in Los Angeles, and she was, in Los Angeles, when you're raised here, there's a great deal of really good looking, really good dental work, kind of a pile of money kind of things. I think one of her friends in junior high was Wayne Gretzky's daughter.
Well, so they'd know about dental work.
So they'd possibly, there you go, because that's a hockey joke, I think. Huh?
Yeah.
Did I get that?
Yeah,
all right.
You got it.
And, but there was just so much money and nonsense. Anyway, so but we enjoyed the Harry Potter stuff, and her mom was my boss at my old day job when I first moved here. Mm-hmm. So what I did was I worked at this closed captioning company, during the week. And then on the weekends, I would babysit for her kids, my boss's kids. And so I had, I worked 75, 80 hours a week because they lived out in Agoura Hills, which is about 45 minutes to an hour from where I live now and where I lived then. But, the kid, so she was, my boss was a very serious, she's a really beautiful, wonderful person, but very serious businesswoman. And so Caitlin comes up to me and she's probably, she turned, I think she was 10 at the time, and she's like, do you believe in magic? Because she had consumed them in a minute. And I was like, well, don't tell your mom. But I do believe in magic. The thing is I don't think anything like Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or something like that could be written just in the imagination of a person. I think that world exists somewhere.
Yeah, there's a line of thought that says that the ideas that we have don't necessarily come from within, but our memories are all stored externally.
Oh, the cloud.
And there's a human communal cloud that we all sort of are connected to each other with and draw inspiration from.
Okay.
And so I don't know how much of it I truly believe, but it's sort of an interesting
Well, it's hard
concept.
to say out loud.
Yeah.
Granted, the Dork Forest, pretty safe space.
I think so.
Rangers aren't going to tell anybody. And so they got our backs. But if you think about religion, every major religion has a giant flood in it. Right?
Yeah, that's kind of coincidental.
That feels coincidental and yet not.
Yeah.
And everybody has sort of the same origin story of things that sound like, oh, well, then I guess this is something that occurred when everybody was around and there were only a couple thousand of us or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so when she turned 11, she sobbed uncontrollably, this kid, when she didn't get a letter from Hogwarts.
Oh,
she was inconsolable, except for the fact that, flattering towards her family, of course, as always. But we all hope to be taken away and proven that we are actually magical and we are rich. And my sister wanted to be a Rockefeller so bad.
That'd be a pretty sweet family.
It would have been great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got her, I got the kid, my sister-in-law had given me a necklace with a little magic wand on it. I gave it to her for her 11th birthday. I believe she lost it immediately. But she's 11, so I'm not too surprised.
Hey, I'm pro magic. I fall on the pro magic side.
Yep.
It's far more interesting to live in a world where that's possible than to be just someone who's like, nope, I don't think so.
No,
It's so boring. I wouldn't dig that.
and then the movies came out, and the movies are kind of hard for me, just because I love the book so much.
But you got to know that they're just like they're condensed, and it's like the flavor of the book, not like the substance of the book.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I thought that, but then I saw the Lord of the Rings movies, and I have to say that I thought that Christopher Columbus. Well, how could I forget his name? Yeah. He was the guy who directed the first two, and I thought he really nailed the vision of the book. I mean, it helps that J.K. Rowling was alive and was there to say, no, that is not what I meant. You are actually missing something. The hobbits are the heroes, and it is not Aragorn. Anyway, J.K. Rowling, Tolkien not there.
Right.
So,
yeah.
So I thought that the movies captured sort of the flavor of, like the flavor of those books they're about self-reliance, but they're also about building friendships and about building, creating a family around you.
Yeah.
And trusting your own instincts and being a good person, right?
Right.
And I think that they really caught that. And as opposed to the Lord of the Rings movies, which nailed the world. Like, it looks so real.
Yeah.
It looks exactly like what I imagine Middle-earth would look like. But I wanted the hobbits to be heroes and not people to be heroes.
Yeah, I'd say, it's speciesism. We want to be pro-human in a pro-human.
Yeah, exactly. It turns out it's not about that guy.
It's completely cut differently than it's shown in the Shire. Like, they look like the big-time heroes over there.
Right. It's very much people's history of the United States, written from the point of view of the man. Clearly, who wrote that history? Aragorn, Gondor, obviously. And, but it is very, very beautiful. And in both cases, I think that they're both pretty good looking movies and they do what they can. So what would you say? Like, if kids, how like there's kids now, they're like, that seems like old people kids book. Like, some people won't read Swallows and Amazons, which is a kid's novel from like the 1910s or the 1920s, and it is a slow book, but it is a very, very sweet book about kids.
Okay.
And for kids.
I've never heard of Swallows and Amazons. Is that like a well-known thing? Or?
I don't know. Somebody told me about it, and then every time I mention it, sometimes people are like, "Oh yeah, I know that." But then other people, like me, were like, "I have never heard of such a thing. What is it?" And I can't even remember the name of it, but there's 4 or 5 of them, and might be 3 or 4.
Okay.
But and I've read 2 of them, but they're sort of a gentle kind of summer of, and the kids, they live on the mainland, but there's a little island that they're allowed to camp on by themselves if they bring their older sister. And they have a little tiny skiff that they get to sail, and they play pirates. And it's a very much like a
Lord of the Rings meets Anne of Green Gables, sort of.
It's more Anne of Green Gables than Lord of the Rings.
I mean, the Lord of the Flies.
Oh, Lord of the Flies.
That's see, I know.
It is not Lord of the Flies at all.
Okay.
Thank you, God.
There's an island.
There is an island.
That's as far as I went with it.
I tried to read Lord of the Flies recently, and I couldn't do it. I didn't like it when I read it in 8th grade, and turns out I don't like those people.
It's all metaphor. Like, nothing is what it
seems to be.
Seems to be. Like, everything stands for something else. It's a microcosm. Every character is a certain faction of society.
Yeah.
If you look at it through that window,
lens?
it's very through that lens.
Yeah.
See, you're correcting me all the way, and I should be saying words correctly.
I'll tell you, when I edit this, I'll be like, why don't you just let him talk? Asshat. Why you gotta interrupt?
And I was like, thank you for not letting me talk. Yeah.
All right, as long as I'm finding good words for you and not just putting words in your mouth.
Absolutely.
So what, because you also put down that you had just read a couple of classics that you had never read.
Yeah, apparently dystopias are the thing right now. I read 1984 and Brave New World, and they were both very, very good. I felt like 1984 was like better written, but I liked Brave New World a little better because it was sort of like a well-intentioned dystopia.
Okay.
Like, it wasn't trying to keep
us
people
all down.
It was like, no, if we make you stupider, you'll naturally be happier. And that makes some sense to me.
It does make some sense. It sadly makes, I don't feel that bright. Yeah, I think I know I read 1984 and was made depressed, as we are all to be. Mm-hmm. And then I think I started Brave New World.
It's a harder read. I don't think it's as well written. Like, it's
okay.
But like, once you get into the story of it, like, because there's that whole long thing at the beginning where they're like showing kids around the thing, but it's also like your introduction to their world.
Okay.
and it's sort of taking you by the hand, but not enough to really make you feel like you have a place to land.
Oh,
So,
really?
Yeah, so you kind of, you feel that way, and I think it's probably intentional.
Okay, and who wrote Brave New World again? I can't remember.
Aldous Huxley?
That's why I don't remember, because
Yeah.
that is not a name that just sticks in my brain. Huxley?
Huxley.
Okay, so Huxley wrote Brave New World. Yeah, I don't think I may not have even tried to read that. Now's the time, folks. Maybe I bet you it's free on Kindle.
I probably, and the only reason I read it too is because I did a crossword puzzle that's like, it said Brave New World drug, and I'm like, I don't know what that is, and it's Soma. So I'm like
SOMA?
SOMA, and
Okay.
that's it's.
Is it the blue pill? Is it the red pill? That kind of thing? Or?
I mean, it's so common. Like they'll put it in ice cream. Like it's just like if you're having a bad day, take a Soma. You'll chill for an hour and you'll be fine.
I see.
Yeah,
Paxil.
yeah. And then instead of movies, they have feelies, which like there's no real plot, but you get to
I have
feel
not
everything.
read this.
Oh, it's good.
Okay.
It's worth it.
Wow. Will I feel like I'm living in it? A little bit?
You might,
Right? Because I got feels. I got all kinds of feels, man.
Do you self-medicate when you're having a bad day?
It's more just the ice cream, no Soma. but you know, like, do you remember in Firefly when do you ever see Firefly?
Yeah, I watched it. I watched a couple episodes of it with a girl who broke up with me in the middle of us watching it together, and I never picked it back up because it reminds me of that girl.
Aw, but you have a new girl, and you have a scarf to knit. So what I can do is recommend that you get back into it, but I say start it over, because your lady's going to want. Has she seen it?
Yeah, she's the one who actually bought me the knitting supplies for Christmas this past year.
Okay, so your new knitting girlfriend,
Yeah.
with the mom and Etsy, has she ever seen Firefly to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, no, but I know that she loves Joss Whedon. Like,
Okay, she loved Buffy.
Yeah, we watch Buffy together. We love Dr. Horrible sing-along blog.
Right.
Joss Whedon's very good. I know I would like it. I just kind of have to get over it.
Yeah, it's just Han Solo in space.
Yep.
Essentially, just cowboys in space opera.
Is Firefly good enough to justify people loving Castle? I don't get Castle.
It was enough for me to justify loving
all right.
Castle. I'm not saying that Castle is good. I am
But
saying...
it's clearly people who miss Firefly are watching Castle, right?
What did I do? I just did a podcast called Read It and Weep, and it was essentially about things that you read and watch that you are slightly ashamed of. And I went right to the wall on that one, because I could have gone to Bones, I could have gone to Castle. I went right to the wall. NCIS. NCIS is... It feels like I should be 67 years old watching NCIS, because Mark Harmon is handsome, but he's 63 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a handsome 63-year-old man.
Isn't that the one with the goth chick in the lab?
With the goth chick in the lab.
They've all got such personalities.
Right. Because the thing is what Read It and Weep does is they watched 3 episodes of an NCIS, and they were like, so we'll watch the show that you like, and then we'll do it. And I was like, okay. So they watched, and I picked 3 episodes that personify why I'm guilty about NCIS watching it.
So
Read It and Weep
put
is...
forth the weakest, not the best.
I did.
Okay, all right.
Because I was just like, these personify why I should not like this show. And know in your heart that I will continue to like this show. It is like watching golf. It is like sleeping to fish. It washes over you, and it's soothing. Mark Harmon, they get that bad guy almost every episode. And if they don't, they get it. It's a tour. It's a twofer. And then they get that bad guy.
I heard that most of their ratings are from elderly people that fall asleep watching it. Like
I think I secretly wish to be an elderly person because I do nap to it. It is like watching golf or fish.
The only time I watch it is when I'm in a hotel, and it's
3
so
p.m.
relaxing.
3 p.m. to 6 p.m. That's when I watch it.
Yep.
Right before a show. Right after you've taken your bath, it's time for a little sleepy time for comics. And you have your nap, and you have your NCIS, or it's a Castle marathon, or it's a Bones marathon.
Or Law and Order never stops.
Weirdly enough, never watched Law and Order.
Really?
I think it might be too real.
You might be.
I understand that there is both law and then there's order.
Yeah, and they're going on concurrently sometimes. Like,
oh, are they?
Yeah, it's not just law then order.
Have you watched a lot of Law and Order?
I
think almost everyone has.
In the same way that I watch NCIS on the
okay.
Only in the hotel room and only passingly, and I'm never sure which iteration it is I'm watching. Is it the special victims? Is it the criminal intent?
You'll know it's the special victims when you are uncomfortable for the entire time going, why are people raped and why are people hurting tinies?
And
Leave
then,
the
and then
tinies
who
alone.
best for that but Ice-T?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Who, the thing about Ice-T, I used to listen to Ice-T back in 89, 90, and he was angry, but I think he was justified in his anger. And then he kind of got over it because he turned 40.
Did he do Cop Killer? Was that Ice-T?
He was in NWA, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was, I saw him at one of the very first, not Lilith Fair. I saw him
That would
at
be
the
great.
first
Ice-T at Lilith Fair?
He was it was a double bill with Jane's Addiction. It was Ice-T and Jane's Addiction, and I saw them at the music fest.
Lollapalooza?
It might have been the first Lollapalooza
Okay.
or the second Lollapalooza. It was like that.
Okay.
Anyway, it's a fest again. Okay, so let's talk about things you like, because let's just go into it then.
All right.
If there's things that Brave New World, you've inspired me to read it now.
Okay.
And I think it'll be a sad sack kind of thing, but I can power
It's
through
more
it.
upbeat. Like I'm telling you, 1984 is depressing on purpose. That one is gonna make you go, well, I don't know.
I
if
see
I'd hate
why they
that.
did it.
Yeah.
But I still would like to run my own life.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So when you watch Firefly and then the movie Serenity and do it in that order, your mind will be blown.
Good. Okay.
be-
I still have that to look forward to.
That is.
Think about all the people that never can watch Firefly for the first time ever again.
See? Any number of things. People keep telling me that about music and a lot of books. So, Lost.
Yeah.
You were okay with it. You were okay with any sort of holes in it? Or?
I thought it was great. I thought it wrapped up fine. There's not everything was answered.
Right.
It felt satisfying to me.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and I shed a tear or two. I thought it was touching, and I
Okay.
felt like they could have their cake and eat it too. Because is this a spoiler alerty type of podcast? Do we got to
Sure,
watch ours?
I think that Lost is old enough that
Okay.
that we can tell them that it's the sled. It'll be fine.
I love that the whole time everyone was like, well, the island is purgatory. And they're like, no, the island is not purgatory. And then in the last season, they do this thing where they're in the real world, and then that ends up being purgatory. So they're like, we had our cake and ate it too. We'd had the purgatory thing in there, but it was just exactly opposite what anyone said it was going to be.
Okay.
I thought it was clever.
That is all right. Well, then that's fine. Now you like some sitcoms. It looks like.
I do.
Now wait, but let's skip right ahead to My Little Pony. Friendship is Magic. Is that the new one?
That is the new one. And speaking of things that I can't defend myself about, embarrassing things like NCIS. I feel like NCIS is not as embarrassing as this.
As My Little Pony?
Yeah.
Depends the circles.
I saw that documentary. I'd never about the bronies.
Oh, okay. Was there a brony documentary?
There was a brony documentary.
Okay, I've met any number of bronies. They all seem to be gentlemen who want to be allowed to like My Little Pony.
It's I'm not that rabid about it. I'm not
Right,
going to
you're
write
not-
any fan fiction or buy any toys or anything. But
You will watch it if it's on, or do you own it?
I will watch it. It's on Netflix.
Okay, yeah.
I've not put any money into it.
Right.
So
You no need to defend, because the thing is, but it's in your queue. It's in your instant queue.
It is in my queue, and I go to it if I've had a long day. It's relaxing. It's well made. It's well written. I love voice acting.
How many are there?
There's 4 seasons of it.
Oh, there are.
Yeah.
And each season is 20, 25
Like, yeah,
episodes?
24 episodes, yeah.
And they're half-hour shows.
Yeah.
Now, here's what I don't know anything about My Little Pony.
Hey, and that's nothing to be ashamed about.
Right.
There was a time when that was true of me, and it's no longer true.
It's no longer so.
yeah.
What's the premise? What are we looking at?
The premise is it's the main girl, Twilight Sparkle. She's nerdy, and she's been sent to a town by the Princess Celestia to learn about friendship. Friendship has properties that can, have magic and can fight evil, and so she's sent there to sort of learn about that.
Right.
There's 2 episodes that I think save it if I'm going to try.
Sell it?
It's sell it a little
Okay.
bit. One is guest starring Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, there you go. That brings it all kinds of cred.
Yeah, he plays a pony named Cheese Sandwich. Pinkie Pie is our party pony. She loves planning ponies. He does that on a professional level and comes into town and sort of outshines her. They have a little showdown where it sounds like Weird Al wrote original music for it.
Oh, cool.
And then at the end, it's like one of the most touching endings because it's like she's like, "Fine, you win. I'm leaving town," and he goes, "No, I was inspired to do this." When as a child I came to a party you threw, and it's like everyone's there's not a dry eye in the house. There's another episode where Fluttershy,
Yes.
the shyest of the ponies, she's caught singing. She has a beautiful singing voice, but she could never sing in front of people.
Okay.
But they want her to join this group of singers. She can't she can't. She just can't. But she's a huge fan of them. One of them, their bass loses his voice, and it's already been pre-established seasons earlier that when she walks through a plant called Poison Joke, she gets like a very low, like bluesy voice.
Okay.
So they're like, what we can do is we can have you go through this intentionally. That way you'll have the voice, and then since you know all the songs, you can cover for him. And she's like, but I can't be on stage, so he'll just have to mouth what I'm doing, and I'll be backstage.
Aww.
The name of the episode is Philly Vanilli. I don't know what else you want.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
What more do you want out of it?
It's enjoyable, and I love voice acting, and I watched Blue's Clues far longer than I should have. I've always had little siblings. I have a brother who is 15 years younger than me.
Okay.
I've watched all the iCarlys, and I don't think it's a bad show. I think all the side characters are just really well cast and act well.
Okay. Well, that's neat.
Yeah.
It's what I have to think. So I did not know that My Little Pony was musical.
Oh, yeah, there's like original music in it, and some of it's...
Every episode? Is it singing every episode or no?
If it's called for.
Okay.
They're not going to like go out of their way for it or anything.
I see.
Yeah.
It's like porn.
Yeah.
There's a reason why there's bare boobs. It fits in the plot.
Right. It's not just, what's the word when sex scenes are just added for no reason? Gratuitous.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
There's no gratuitous weird pony music.
No.
And that is awesome, though. That kind of makes me want to get into it.
It's worth like a try. I mean, it's not going to like blow your mind. It's a children's show.
Sure.
But it's far better than you'd think it would be because the lessons that they do are not, the problems aren't easily fixed the way that I had expected them to be in the first time through.
Right.
They're like, she's sad about this thing. They'll do this and cheer her up. No, they try like 8 things and get them to the lowest of the low. There's dark night of the soul moments on this show. And I'm like, I can't believe that's the lesson that they're teaching these children. I mean, it's a good lesson. I need to learn that lesson now.
Yeah. Wow, that is fascinating. That is actually awesome. I love that. So, okay. And now let's go right to Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay, yeah. And this ties in with Full House as well. These were 2 things. When
You grew up with Mrs. Doubtfire and Full House to some extent? Okay.
Very, very much so.
Okay.
When I was like 7, my dad died of cancer. He had lung cancer. It spread to his brain. My mom was like so sad.
Right.
Like for months, I didn't see her smile. She was depressed.
Just down.
Yeah, and my aunt finally convinced us all to go to the movies, and we saw Mrs. Doubtfire. And there's a moment in it when Sally Field is asking Mrs. Doubtfire, she goes, how long after Mr. Doubtfire died did you ever, get with anyone else?
Oh, hello. Yeah.
And Mrs. Doubtfire goes, never. Once the father of your children is out of the picture, the only solution is total and lifelong celibacy. And if you violate that, heaven forgive you. And we all looked down at my mom, and she looked at us, and we were just like a gape. And she started laughing harder than I've ever seen her laugh. And no one else was laughing at this point. It wasn't like a funny moment in the movie.
Right.
And so it was like a
because
church
it was
laugh.
Robin Williams trying desperately to have her not start having
Sleep with
sex
Pierce
with people.
Brosnan. Yeah.
Right.
And so,
but she was, it broke a dam or something.
It did. And then that snapped my mind as a little kid. I'm like, oh, it's possible to make her laugh?
Oh.
And so
that's adorable.
That's sort of how I got into it. But yeah, we, at that point, to deal with the rest of it, she'd taped Full House off TV and we'd watched like VHSs of just nothing but Full House. And then, she got remarried to a guy who died 3 years later. A second guy died.
Holy. Wow.
And
are you
this was
writing
like,
any horrible jokes about that come to my mind? I'm so sorry.
I do
I'll be over here.
Some bits where I just depressingly tell facts about my life and just see how it goes over. Sometimes it does well, actually.
Right. Because you don't want to imply that she is a bit of a husband killer.
She's the Black Widow Muskegon. But when
it feels a little dark.
Yeah. But when he died, it was like double depression because it was like, what's wrong? What's the matter with me? Why do all these guys keep dying on me? And so
I'm sure she was thinking, what the hell? It's me.
Yeah. So we had Mrs. Doubtfire on DVD, and it was the only thing that made her feel good. So we literally watched it on a loop for 4 months. I know that movie inside and out. Like I could go through the dialogue for you.
Now here's the thing. So Robin Williams passes away a couple of months ago. Kills himself. Very sad.
I was very bothered by it. I had to write a blog post about it.
Did you blog post about it?
I did.
Did you ever get to meet him or?
No. And I kept having these really egotistical thoughts like, oh man, if I just run into him and I could have told him that story about how he saved my family with Mrs.
Yeah.
Doubtfire, like, would that have made a difference?
Any
And I'm
sort
like,
of a
no,
difference?
it wouldn't have. And that's
Sadly.
really dumb for you to think that.
No, it isn't dumb. It's very sweet. But I don't know how, I mean, I don't think that's how depression is fixed when people know that they're valued. I mean, it's nice to know that you're valued, and
Yeah.
people are always like, a Portland newspaper called me because I was coming to Portland. They were like, what did you think of it? And I was like, really? I've met him 3 times and I am not his friend. And, so I was like, I go off on this, but of course, when you're asked an opinion, you hold forth. And so I hold forth and I say something that sounds like I'm suicidal now. And I was like, hey, don't print that. I am not suicidal, but and I was telling Maria, I was like, I said something about how I get depressed like normal people get depressed. You know, every 3 or 4 years, I'll get depressed for 3 to 5 months. And she's like, that is clinical depression, Jackie. No one gets depressed like that. And I was like, oh, then it must not be that because I'm not clinically depressed. I'm not like that.
Sometimes I get sad. I don't know why. I'm like, I don't
Sure.
know the reason why I'm feeling down. It must be something just chemical.
Right.
Yeah.
Or just the way life is sometimes,
Yeah.
which I suppose is chemical. People can get scientific, but I don't ever feel the need to take a drug for it. You
Yeah,
know?
me either.
Yeah. I mean, my stepmom passed away a couple of years ago and they were like, well, if you want to take Prozac for 6 months. And I was like, I don't want to take Prozac ever. It's probably in the water as we speak because
Yeah.
everybody flushes it down the toilet when it expires and it's in the shrimp. But, so supposedly I read an article. And as Maria says, you know how powerful articles are. Anyway, so, Maria Bamford, go to mariabamford.com, look up her published works. In other news, Mrs. Doubtfire. So I have only seen it once. I saw it in the theater one time.
So it's been since it's been in the theater. So like 90. What,
I don't know when it came
94?
out. I saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And I have not seen it. I mean, I've seen parts. I've seen more Jumanji on deep cable than I have Mrs. Doubtfire.
They were playing it on AMC last year.
Oh, yeah?
Because it was like 25 years old.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, so what is it? It's just a rom-com, right? But is there more to it than that?
It's just him being funny. You know, like honestly, I don't think there's anything special to it except it's him doing what he does really well.
But dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yes. And,
I remember at the time they beat the shit out of it. They were like, well, it's poor man's Tootsie. Poor man's Tootsie. And I've seen Tootsie recently, and parts of it, honestly, don't hold up. But parts of it are extraordinary.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've seen Tootsie recently. but
Wilshire, I am a woman. A woman.
yeah, I think Dustin Hoffman is a very silly man. And that comes out very much so, where you're just like, that is hilarious.
Yeah, and Dustin Hoffman is Hook in Hook with Robin Williams. I mean, there's like, so what do you do when the person who like is responsible for you trying to follow their line of work, their track, at the end of that is depression and suicide? Like, that doesn't bode well. That doesn't make me feel good to think about.
Right. But you know, when you think about it, think about Bill Cosby, think about George Carlin. They both, Bill Cosby's still alive. Anyway, Steve Martin, think about that guy. That guy also still alive, Jackie.
Yeah.
Anyway, these are people that are going to die of old age in their sleep, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joan Rivers. It's, Carol Burnett. These are incredibly talented people that are considered to be geniuses that did not kill themselves with drugs and alcohol, didn't commit suicide, didn't do any number of things. You could be that person.
Yeah, and I probably will. It's just sort of like,
It's more exciting to kill yourself with drugs, alcohol, and a giant bullet to the brain, but
what a way to go.
it's it seems dumb. It seems monumentally because tomorrow you're going to wake up. And I don't mean to go all Annie on you, but it's going to be different. Because let me tell you about the future. It's going to be just like the present, except for slightly different and probably better. Because it gets better, and then you know what happens? It gets worse again. And then it gets better again.
You got some work on the motivational speaking. It's like halfway there.
Oh, that is very funny because that is exactly how I was raised. Essentially, I can sell half a loaf, and it is not necessarily the right loaf. Because like my dad, when I was a kid, he would say things like, you could do whatever you want in life, which is a beautiful thing to tell a child. And then he would say, as long as they don't catch you. And you're like, is that the rule? And my stepmom would be in the background going, no. That is actually exact opposite of the rule. You are not supposed to do things you are not supposed to do.
My mom told me, Nick, find a girl who smokes, because if she smokes, she drinks, and if she drinks, she goes all the way.
Oh, that is hilarious. In an effort. So your mom wanted there to be some male parenting, is what happened. So
she kept trying harder.
An inner boy.
She's on her third guy at this point, and he's
How long have they been together?
Like 13 years.
There you go. He lived.
Well, she married a guy 12 years younger than her because she said, "Damn it, I'm going first this time."
She sounds hilarious.
She's fantastic.
Right. And your grandmother's still alive, right?
No, she passed while I was in college, not really long ago, and that's still a rough one too.
That is also very sad.
Yeah.
But your mom is the one with the Etsy.
No, that's my girlfriend's mom.
Your girlfriend's mom.
Who's a lot like a grandma. She's real old.
Let's try to get rid of that minute of me awkwardly being wrong.
Crazy Daisy? It might be Crazy Daisy.
Really?
Her Etsy thing. I'm gonna find out for sure. But she is a Crazy
Daisy.
Could be that. Yeah.
I'm keeping it then. I guess that minute stays.
Yeah.
It might be etsy.com/crazydaisy.
I will find out for sure for you. I haven't spent a lot of time looking through the stuff because she sends us stuff anyway.
Right. Like, you're already you're on the gravy train.
She sent us a soap holder that she knitted, on top of which we put the soap that she made herself for us that smells like patchouli.
Hilarious to me that there would be a soap holder made out of yarn that then would get wet.
Apparently, it's a
good thing.
After a while, the soap kind of crusts it, and it's just like
and then it's just a normal soap holder.
Yeah.
Interesting. Fun fact. We should get your girlfriend's mom on the show to dork out about. But last episode was an Etsy. Brittany Braun has an Etsy called Pop Air, I think it is /Pop Air, and she makes cosplay. Like DC, she makes little toddler skirts that just are DC, like like she'll make regular cosplay costumes.
Wait, is it only DC? She won't make Marvel? Like, it's like
any
a
Marvel.
line in the sand? Like,
it's interesting to me. The DC Marvel line is I've had two or three people on now that are pro DC, and I myself more Marvel. I read more Marvel. I watch all the Marvel movies. The DC movies are, of course, super sad.
I tried to get into comic books when I was younger, and they're done so quick. I needed like a thick book that's going to keep me a while.
Oh, let me tell you, they've collected some.
Yeah, that's what I hear now, and I've read a couple. My girlfriend's getting into them, and she's getting me into them. She's reading like Umbrella Academy now. And
the Umbrella Academy is really good.
Oh yeah, and she's gotten all the way through all of the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and she's insisting that I read all of those now too.
She might like Lock and Key, which is written by Joe Hill, who is Stephen King's son.
Yeah, well, then
you've read all of Stephen King's stuff, right? Or
no, I'm going through it chronologically. I'm on Gerald's Game.
How many books has he written? Hundreds?
I'll never be done.
Right.
He keeps making them quicker than I'm reading them.
I wonder if he's still writing them. You know, like he may just do that oversee thing where he writes an outline, they write it out.
I went most of my. I grew up watching the movie It. We taped it off TV with Tim Curry.
Okay, yeah.
And so I've always known his work, but I'd never read it. And then I read his book on writing, and it is so good. Like that, really? I'm like, I'm going to give you a shot. Like, I know you're famous. I haven't read you, and I read Carrie, which is his first thing.
Right.
Blew me out of the water. The Stand is fantastic. Salem's Lot. The ones that I've read of his Dark Tower series, they're phenomenal, and they connect to characters from his other books. Like, the whole universe is connected. Anyone who's ever been in one of his books will show up in somewhere else.
Huh. I have a book that I've been staring at. It is 900 million pages long, and it's the 1963 one. The one that's the time travel one where he goes back and tries to stop Kennedy.
The newer one,
Yeah, it's much too new for you to have read it yet.
Right, yeah, I'm not there yet.
What year is the book that you're on now?
Well, you know how when you open one of his classic books and they have the inside page that's got the chronological list of his publications?
Okay.
I'm all the way through the first column, and I'm on the top of the second column.
Oh, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I had to go back and read some Richard Bachman's. I was unaware of Richard Bachman.
Illusions?
No, that's his nom de plume that he uses sometimes.
Oh.
Yeah. Richard Bachman is to Stephen King as Chris Gaines is to Garth Brooks.
Oh, thank you very much.
Rock and roll.
There you go. All right. It's so he's got a giant catalog of that as well.
And when people found out, there was 2 books that came out at the same time from each of them, and they were the same story but from different points of view.
Oh, that's fascinating.
I know, it's so good. He's been doing it forever. They're all amazing, and I'm stuck on one right now because I think it's about like sex stuff. Gerald's Game.
Yeah,
I'm not 100% into it, but I'll plow through it eventually.
right. I wanted to read John Irving one year, and so I read Prayer for Owen Meany, which is one of the greatest books I've ever read. But it was I still have dreams about that book, and I probably read it 20 years ago, so I've never been able to read another John Irving book. I'm like, it's too compelling.
Oh, you know what messed me up was I read a Palahniuk.
Palahniuk.
You know Chuck Palahniuk? He wrote Fight Club.
Oh, okay, that guy. Yeah.
He wrote,
That's supposed to be amazing.
He had a book of short stories called Haunted, and in one of them was 3 tales of masturbation gone wrong.
Yeah.
And every time he reads it publicly, I found this out later, someone faints.
Really?
It is. I couldn't stop thinking about it, and I had to just share what happened with as many people as I could, so I just wasn't the only person thinking about it. And only now do I not think about it for a while.
Oh, that's hilarious and weird and spooky. Yeah, it's so hard to try to, I mean, that's the great power of these books that these people enjoy. And, cause sometimes I genuinely have to take a sidestep and read some crap. And just to pull myself, it's My Little Pony essentially, but the written word. And like right now I'm reading a Georgette Heyer mystery novel written in 1951 that is so light, it could have been made out of cotton candy. But it is well written because she's an excellent writer, and it's 1951. It's Agatha Christie, Nicholas, Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis's dad wrote these.
Daniel Day-Lewis?
Yeah, that's what Mike Kaplan calls him, Daniel Day-Lewis. Nicholas Cage? Not Nicholas Cage. That's an actor, Jackie. Let's just keep going. Whatever. So, but it's light. But it's incredibly funny, and it's very interesting, and it's a little dark just because there's going to be a murder.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about Georgette Heyer mystery novels, she doesn't kill anybody until the first third of the book is over.
Well, so good. She lays the environment. She lays all the.
By the time the person is killed, you want to kill them. You're like, oh, it could have been any of these people because that was a bad guy or a horrible
just
lady.
Asking for it the entire time.
Right. Thank God that girl is dead because she was an asshole. And you're like, that doesn't. But it's it's an interesting technique in writing of mystery novels because many of them do start with the murder.
Yeah, which many writers would say is a great action-filled place to start a book.
Which I think that's the technique, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you should start with the problem,
right?
And then you have the solution, and we get to meet, Captain Janeway or whoever the hell's going to come in and find out the Captain Janeway.
I do the lighter thing. I think a really good light book that I use to take a break from Game of Thrones, which I'm currently plowing through. I'm trying to make it through the 5th one.
Okay.
But I took a break with Hunger Games.
Okay.
And apart from it just being like a well-written story, I really appreciated a single narrative for once.
Right.
I'm so tired. I'm like, oh no, who is this now?
Right, there's 7 characters that you have to really remember, and you're fine. Are you in the first Hunger Games?
No, I've finished all the Hunger Games.
Okay.
I'm in the 5th Game of Thrones book. Have you read all of those?
No,
Okay.
I've never. That is, Rangers of the Dork Forest know that I have tried, and then I tried, and then I stopped trying.
I understand. I mean, there's so much about the Ironborn, which is where Theon's from.
Okay.
They're just just all about them. They're the most boring people in the world, but we're going to have so many chapters about their backstory and how they elect leaders.
When I stopped reading, the second time I tried to read the first one, and I literally got to the family, and the family was lovely. And I was like, oh, all these people are dead. And then I was like, I seriously would read a book that was all about that frontier, that wall. Just about the people that fight at that wall. That would be action packed. It would be fascinating because there's new soldiers, there's old soldiers, there's people that don't believe and people that don't believe in the monsters.
Yeah.
And it's cold. You got to wear some clothes.
A lot of politics happening.
Yeah. A lot of things already happening at the wall.
Yeah.
Let's just do the wall for 5.
I'm very interested with that. It's my second favorite storyline, the Arya storyline, which is, it's not that far in the TV show yet, but people who have read the books know that her story is insane.
Which one is she?
She's the daughter that likes to fight, the young daughter.
Oh, the little girl who's the warrior kid.
Yes.
Who
Okay.
wants to be a warrior. Okay.
Yes. Okay. So are you caught up with the show?
No, I can't. I watched the first show and I was like, oh, too incesty. And I got out. It's the Law and Order SVU. I can't do it.
HBO has that thing that they use called sexposition, where to get through the expositionary material, they just make the people saying it have sex.
Right. I don't know if you've seen Pretty Little Liars.
I have not. I'm proud. There's one thing I haven't seen I can be proud of.
I did a podcast called Pretty Little Podcast. And to do the Pretty Little Podcast, you have to watch an episode of Pretty Little Liars. And then you talk about it. And Pretty Little Liars is 90210. And what they like to do, it's a bit of a sexposition kind of thing. If there's ever any fight of any sort of argument or anything, one of the characters will take a step towards the other one and you're like, are they gonna kiss? I'm going to end this fight with a kiss. That's her mom. And then you're like, wait, those are two guys. The two guys never made out in the one that I did, but the women made out. The two girls, like two high school girls. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to get some kids to make out.
Like this, the old gross guys that must be writing that.
Oh, it's all old gross guys writing it. It's all 49-year-old dudes going, you know what I want? And all the actors are over 18. So you're like, no, it's fine. It's all right. And you're like, this is an excuse to get good looking women to kiss on each other. And I get that, but it's not for me, but do whatever you need. And everybody needs to work. So hopefully those people will buy land and, they will get to perform in something else one day.
Yeah. I mean, most of the places that ABC Family plays, I think it's on mute anyway. So, I mean, just people kissing, looking good.
It's so funny that it's all ABC Family too. And the first one that they did that was super kind of, didn't feel like the Methodists were involved at all, was Gilmore Girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it was single mom who, out of wedlock and making terrible life choices, and her daughter is much smarter than she is. Turn that over into Castle, and it's the same show.
Okay.
Castle plays Lorelai Gilmore. Essentially, she is Lauren Graham.
Okay.
That's Nathan Fillion's role. He is Lauren Graham. And so...
Good. I never knew that was a crossover of a feeling, of sentiment.
I just realized it myself, and that's the thing about podcasts. You say things in the moment that you're like, do I believe that? Well, let's find out 7 years from now when it's thrown in my face. Who knows? Anyway. So we have gone through it's been a big reading episode. It's reading and some TV and then a little bit of knitting. I like it. So at Nic Dressel is your Twitter. Do you also have Instagram?
I do. I believe I'm just I'm Nic Dressel on there as well. Yeah.
All right. And you got your podcast, Nobody's Podcast, and Nobody's is spelled correctly, interestingly enough. N-O-B-O, like Nobody's Podcast.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm all for good spelling on the internet.
Well, we all do what we can, and then it all, of course, drifts off into some damn thing or another. And I love the My Little Pony, the defense of My Little Pony. That is a wonderful thing. Where can people, so they can see you do stand up here?
They can, and I'm also currently a student at UCB. So on occasion I'll have one of those.
What's the B?
The Upright Citizens Brigade. UCB.
First, I went University of California. Like UC Berkeley, I think is what I would have thought it was. But you're at the UCB.
Yeah, I'm doing that now too.
You're in show business, it turns out, and I'm in the part of show business that doesn't know the word UCB for some reason when it's out of context in my head.
I thought it was thrown around so flippantly.
And it is, okay. And you were correct. So UCB, are you taking screenwriting, or are you taking acting?
I'm going through the improv course, and then I'm going to go to the writing course, because I just wrote my first screenplay. I'm trying to any pie I can get my finger into.
Oh yeah,
I'm trying
many
to.
irons,
yeah.
Many irons, and Los Angeles is full of essentially fires that will
keep your irons hot. Yep.
Yeah, it'll hot something up. So good for you. It has been very nice meeting you, Nic Dressel.
Very nice meeting you.
Thank you for being on the program.
And my absolute pleasure.
My hat, my hat, my hat. They're dancing around my hat. My hat, my hat, my hat. Well, what do you think of that? If it looks like a Mexican hat dance and it sounds like a Mexican hat dance, it's most likely a Mexican hat dance. So take off your hat and let's dance.
Yay! Oh my God. Why don't we just call that as the end of the show?